Yo, GM, everybody. And we've got Mr. Hustle on stage. Not going to be talking, but first time joining, doing some additional promo, man. How are we feeling today?
Trillions, bro. Trillions, bro. I mean, I watched the, did you watch the CES talk from the NVIDIA founder?
One from yesterday or,
yeah.
The first day?
Yeah, trillions. Although I posted this morning, it was a good take from a AI TikTok guy I follow, and he's like, it's funny because Salesforce is promoting their AI agent, which is like a sales calling agent. Mm-hmm. So you pay a little extra, you get the AI agent from Salesforce, which helps you make like sales calls. But they've just put out a thing to hire like 2,000 new in-person sales call people. Like they've just put out, like they're still trying to hire like 2,000 in real life people. And they're like, well, why couldn't they just use the agent? Well, people, what do you know, are still needed. So it's the world is not going to end in the next, this cycle from AI agents, guys, but pretty excited about it still.
Yes, I am. So I sent him a DM. We're going to have Mr. Roperito here on the show. Waiting for him to respond. If not, we're getting stood up by him. But he did say that he was going to come, and I do see he is active online. So we'll give him some time while we do just hang out here for a second. Chris, how you feeling today?
We're feeling good, man. Crazy stuff happening in LA. Just crazy stuff happening in the world every single day. I mean, the next 4 years with Trump is going to be crazy. So I feel like it's already started.
Yep. I did see it, it was immediately like fires burning and Bernie Sanders comes on. This is what happens with climate change. And people just immediately shut that shit down. It's like, no, man, this is what happens with bad forestry management. And you guys fucked up.
Not the only country in the world with forests.
Yeah, dude.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it feels like we're getting a seismic shift in the way the world, or at least America, approaches its problems. Thank God.
About time. I mean, that's much needed. So crazy to see. I think a lot of people think the bull market's over. So maybe it's over. Oh, did you see the US government selling their Bitcoin?
Do you think, let's take a show of hands in the audience. Who thinks that's actually going to happen? Thumbs up, thumbs down. I heard somebody it was a good tweet, was like, they're going to sell it to themselves, right? They'll sell it. I don't know if you saw that one, but that would make sense. It's like, I mean, are they going to sell this on the open market like Germany did? It just seems very unlikely that that's going to get rolled out in the next, whatever, how many 12 days before Trump takes office?
Yeah, Crash doesn't think so. I don't think it's going to be sold either. I think Trump's probably going to say something.
Yeah.
But I guess the market's kind of pricing it in. It'll probably get eaten up quite fast if that does happen. Or maybe the US is going to pull some shicey stuff where they're trying to basically market sell to like one of their buddy hedge funds or something of that nature.
Yeah.
It could be quite interesting. But Chris, where do you think we are in the cycle then? A lot of people think that it's all over. AI coins are just getting absolutely slaughtered. I think the majority of them are down pretty astronomically. Is this, 2021? Are we 2021 NFT kind of bull run, like literally just mirroring the same thing, or
I mean,
it's different?
If there's ever a time to be bullish on crypto, it's got to be now. Like, it has to be now. This has the potential to be one of the biggest years, probably the biggest years in crypto history. So, I mean, in terms of probabilities, you have to take your shot. Like, I mean, what's the downside? 70K maybe. What's the upside? 250K in a crazy year. So we're sitting at like 90K. I mean, you're not selling anything now. You're willing to write it down, to risk it, to take it back to the highs and much further. So I don't really worry about it. I mean, this industry's been through so much. We're gonna get through this too. Like,
I mean, dude, if you're bearish right now, welcome to your first cycle in crypto, bro. Because there's no way, if you've been through a couple of these things, you can be bearish right now. It's impossible, dude. There's way too much. I mean, of course, black swan event, a nuke goes off in Europe. Different. That's a game changer, but that shit's unforeseeable. But right now, with the way everything's setting up, come on. I think Leo said it right, especially about the AI and the AI agents and all that sort of stuff. He's like, if you look, I mean, first of all, it's only been like 2 months, maybe, right, of AIs and AI agents and coins and stuff. And it's like, if you just remember the 21 NFT cycle, NFTs died in May, June of 21. And then in August, it literally, exploded.
Dude, that was the Pepe bull run. Pete started that, did like 20,000-30,000 ETH in trading volume the last, I think like the last quarter of 2021.
Yep.
I have here pulled up on the live stream. So that those don't know, we also do live stream. The total agents created or tracked, at least so far, 992. So about to crack 1,000, just literally straight into a week of the new year. The total market cap's down to 14 billion. It's down 22% in the last 7 days. To be honest, I feel like probably is going to go a little bit lower.
Yep.
Pretty major correction. The interesting part here is we see, virtuals is still commanding a massive lead. I put a tweet out the other day, but if you take the top 15 coins, AI coins, right? This is like the top 5 are virtuals, AI16Z, Fart Coin Turbo, and this new FAI. It's about 77% of the total market cap of these AI coins.
Are just the top 5, basically?
The top 15, yeah.
Top 15, gotcha.
And really, all of them are, it's like 3 launch pads. There's like 6 or 7 frameworks, and then kind of mostly KOLs. So there's like 6 or 7 kind of KOLs. So it makes me wonder, what type of new sectors are going to surface for these AI agents, right? It's still so early. It's kind of like NFTs, right? Last cycle, where the first things to take off were PFPs. And then by the end of the cycle, we had historical NFTs, right? We had photography NFTs, we had, metaverse land, there was generative art, right? There was like
music
NFTs.
NFTs.
yeah, I forgot about them.
NFTs, bro.
So it makes me wonder, kind of what are these other sectors that are going to pop up for AI coins? Obviously, I think the DeFi agents thing is probably going to be a massive one. But if you had to speculate, what other type of AI coin sectors do you think are going to pop up?
I mean, for me, it feels like any and all. I've already seen, gaming. Certainly metaverse has hit my radar again. And I was like, really? We're going to roll back immersive metaverses again? I was like, geez, that still feels a decade too early. I mean, but people were like, no, but now we'll be able to populate these worlds with agents. But I'm like, does that move the needle for humans? My gut still says no, but people are rolling it back. And the idea is just multiply with the AI, right? It's like, oh, we can create NPCs. I could create whatever. I create an NPC right now, or a virtual person on virtuals, right? Create a character. It's called a social media KOL or whatever. The reality is that KOL can live in video games, can live in virtual, worlds, can, do all these sort of things that NFTs were just like a hope and a dream, right? Of course, I want my, World of Warcraft axe to be able to be used in every game, but the functionality of that across games is, really, really hard to do. While this feels like a lot more real, a lot more doable, but still, miles away, to be perfectly honest, in a lot of cases, still miles away. But DeFi, obviously we're working on the wallets, all that sort of stuff is, I think we're going to get some really awesome real use cases here in the next 6 months for sure.
Yep. So I have DM'd Roperito to see if he's going to join. We'll see. Maybe we're getting stood up or we have to reschedule because he's busy, but we'll continue on with the AI discussion if everyone wants to join the conversation.
I want to hear Dogfather just jumped on stage.
Always
He's done some
welcome.
good breakdowns of the numbers too. If Dogfather wants to jump in here too.
Let's go.
You there, bro?
Yeah, just jumped out of my fiat mining.
Bro, he's rugged, bro. Every time he's in the Lambo, he gets fucking rugged, bro. There's the worst reception in that Lambo, dude. Rejoin, brother. Come back.
So I have here pulled up on the live stream. I was getting pinged yesterday. CoinGecko started a new category on their platform on CoinGecko.com. It's a DeFi AI, so DEFAI. The total market cap is 645 million, and there's like 6 tokens on here. You have Griffin, you have Hayanon. These are kind of 2 interesting projects maybe we'll dive into, and then some other ones I haven't seen yet. I do suspect this is where Tensor is probably going to end up in, probably one of these categories once the Telegram and the wallet and everything is hooked up. Griffin's pretty interesting, and Hayanon as well. These are kind of these DeFi agents where you open up a terminal and you say, hey, can you LP this position, or can you, trade on my behalf for, kind of XYZ thing. Chris, what's your take on, Griffin and Hayanon? Have you looked into this DeFi AI category? And then also, I'll add one caveat here. Are DeFi agents even plausible? I was having this conversation yesterday on one of the shows that I was on, where DeFi agents, they're basically analyzing information across the internet, right? But a lot of times the best alpha for trading is literally like insider information, right? Or like off-chain kind of information. So would these kind of, bots or DeFi agents even have, an upper hand when they're not hearing, some of the backroom kind of conversations that are happening?
I mean, as you know, with like Shannon, what Shannon's building with Hustle and things like that, like they do have access to the back rooms, right? So they can be a part of the conversation. And I always just go back to these video game analogies like Diablo or World of Warcraft. Like they weren't AIs, they were more bots, but they were active in the game. They were farming materials. That's their main use case. And you know, they were unstoppable. They were growing their bankrolls. They were participating like every other players, and they were almost indistinguishable between other players. And so even though those, you know, metas and some of these things happen off chain, you have to follow the money, and the money's always moving. That's the signal, right? And so I think no one can do that better than some of these AI agents when they're trained correctly. So like Adam said, you know, the metaverse to kind of crypto AI agent crossover, it kind of seems wacky, but in my opinion, we had that like 15 years ago with World of Warcraft. We had the same thing, except they weren't as maybe conscious or adaptable, aware, and they didn't have any type of memory applications, right? So once you kind of add some of these layers in, you kind of see what the real metaverse would be. And I mean, it seems to me that the crypto would be the reserve currency of that type of atmosphere, and we're going to have just millions, maybe billions of these agents running all over the place.
Yeah, dude, if you think about like trading, there are almost like two aspects to trading. One is like chart watching, right? Do I think the agents are going to compete in chart watching? Not really, because I mean, that's like math and whatever. And that's like a run to zero, almost impossible to do to make a better algo than a Wall Street trader who's, you know, has 5 master's degrees in mathematics is really difficult to do. Okay. But to be socially in multiple channels at the same time, I think this is where the agent superpower is kind of like people are starting to figure it out. It's like if they can be in a bunch of alpha channels and filter through a mountain of garbage that's in there, right? Because we all know if you're in these channels, 90% of that stuff is like you buy that, you lost your money. Like it's gone. These are all rugs, right? And so filtering through, well, which is the real guy? And is he in a couple channels? Oh, and this is the real guy. And this real guy just bought a bunch of this. So I know this is going to pump because he's part of X cabal, right? That's the thing that I think, you know, agents possibly may have an edge here in trading.
Dogfather, what's your take on it?
All right, so now I'm up to speed.
You're back.
I wanted to have my AirPods on in the meeting, but that always seems a bit, you know, unpolite. So I think you have to distinguish between different use cases in this DeFi game. So I think one is just convenience and speed, that you give in your prompt certain, you know, advices what the bot should do. Let's say look for the cheapest prices across different marketplaces, bridge here and there, and do this and that, and then just sign the transaction. So that's just convenience and speed. And then there are other bots that really look for alpha. And now there is this trade-off between are they as good as humans that have insider information or coordinate? Probably not. But I think the law of large numbers, so looking into thousands of these price actions, they learn the pattern. So then they smell that the cabals are buying something or dumping something. So they are super quick in you know, basically copy trading and you know, following the news. So they will, and that's at the end an empirical question whether they actually can do that. But I think once they are well trained and have enough you know, of these events in their database, that they find these events and trade successfully on these events. So I think these DeFi or trading AI bots will make markets way more efficient. If you are not having insider information, better hodl, you know, better hodl or have one of these bots. Otherwise, you can be in the trenches as much as you want to be. You can log in for 72 hours. You won't beat these agents.
So Dogfather, I have here pulled up on the live stream and I pinned to the top. You know, you're mostly known, and for those who are tuning in who maybe are not familiar, you cover a lot of analytics, and you know, we come from the same space of Bitcoin, but recently started posting about holder analytics for AI coins. Can you give us some information, or at least some insight into kind of what you're seeing? Are these tokens, generally overweight with, the top 10% of holders? And if you're seeing any type of divergence from what you typically see when you look at holder counts across these different ecosystems?
Yeah, super happy to do that. And as you were saying, I'm relatively fresh to the space because if you're into Bitcoin, it's so hard to touch anything on Base, Solana, and so on. But at the end, I was so interested in what's moving there, so I had a look at some data. And I have to say, if I look at holder concentrations, that is not the same as these free airdrops like the dog rune, because it's super clear. You have these early people on Pump.Fun or similar kind of mechanisms, and then they just have huge bags, right? So that's not the same as dropping the same number of dog runes to 100,000 people or 100,000 wallets. So yes, they are more concentrated, and that's one thing I noticed. But the other thing you notice is that they are extremely hot, and they were able to increase the holder numbers tremendously over the last couple of weeks. And that's also explaining most of the increase in their market cap. So when I looked at several factors that you can find on Cookie DAO website, and I just use the public data so everyone can do that. So the three main things that are explaining the market cap of the largest 100 AI agents is the number of holders, then the mind share, and then on top of that, also the total impressions they get on the tweet. So it's very simple. You need to increase the holder count, and you are able to do that as a project if you have enough attention on your socials. That's super simple. So at the end, if you really want to trade upon that, so look for large changes, positive changes in the mind share. That is then basically confirmed by an increase in the holder count, and that's definitely something where you should double check the projects and look whether you like what you see in terms of there are different types of agents, some like the infrastructure games, some like these the memes. So check whether you vibe with those or not. But these are the two main drivers from what I've learned so far.
Yeah, so I have here pulled up on the live stream, and I also pinned to the top the Tensor review that you did for AI16Z. This was posted 3 days ago, so numbers could change slightly. 77,000 holders, 60,000 of them have $10 or more, 21,000 have $1,000 or more, and the top 10% holds 28% of the supply. So if that metric, if we focus on that one specifically, do you typically see 28% owned by the top 10 wallets? Does that seem to be the norm, or is that maybe overweight in its current state of whale concentration?
I would say, given that these tokens are relatively young, there hasn't been much of distribution yet, right? So we're still in price discovery. You see that the newer holders typically go into smaller positions first, and that these early token holders, they have these large bags, and then they distribute more and more over time, to new investors. So I would say, I mean, I don't have an overview over the top 100 yet in terms of the holder structure, because that's like premium data from Cookie. But I think for Tensorium, this is already relatively well distributed for such a relatively young project.
What's that that HHI number? I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but what is that number signify, and what's better, like more or less? Like, how do we interpret that number?
Yeah, so that's a classical economic number for the distribution of, for instance, holders. So the lower the number, the better. So when I did that for runes, you even have numbers of 5, 10, or 20. So these are these airdrop tokens that have a very, very, very broad and even distribution. While for these AI agents, you typically don't see anything below 50. So it's more concentrated. So there are more larger backholders than these airdrop tokens, which makes 100% sense. Think about a token that's emerged on pump.fun. So the early investors, which is investing a few SOL, and then they had huge bags. While later on, these tokens were way more expensive. So you don't have such an even distribution. So if you take a fair mint on runes, everyone is paying the same, right? Until they're minting out, and maybe they pay a slightly higher fees towards the end. But the price is basically constant. While if you're on pump.fun kind of situations, you have the bonding curve, and it's way more expensive towards the end. So you have, for the same number of SOL, you have just fewer tokens. So that's explaining the more concentrated distribution on these AI agent tokens.
That's awesome. So I have here pulled up the Tensorium one, and on this was posted 4 days ago. The holders is 3,669. I do believe it's up to like 4,300 now. The HHI for this was 60, and the top 10 held 17% of the concentration. So a little bit better of a distribution there. Obviously, literally 20x less the amount of holders, but good for distribution. So, thanks for that. One final thing for you, Dogfather. Have you monitored, the AI space on Bitcoin? Obviously, Butoshi's a friend of the show and has Cypher Genesis. But have you looked into any of the other, I guess you call them AI coins that are using runes?
Yeah, I had a quick look, but honestly, I really failed seeing anything that's worth digging deeper. So maybe I just missed that, but it seems to be extremely early, and I haven't seen any product I would really love to use. But maybe that's just my lack of time looking deeper into that. I think building on Bitcoin is just way harder. And integration is not that simple. But I expect that this wave, I mean, now we have these huge mind shares for everything AI that this will also flow over to Bitcoin, and we will see way more of that. But no, I haven't seen anything that where I thought like, wow, this is the next big thing. So I talked to the Liquidium team, and this is. Hopefully I can share it. They're also looking into that, because for some of their DeFi offerings, such an agent may also make sense. So we may see these established DeFi players bringing some AI assistance into their products. So that may be super interesting, just to save time.
Yeah, it is quite interesting. I was actually having this conversation yesterday with the Block Runner guys, who are one of the main metaverse people on Bitcoin, and they've been starting to look into adding, AI to their DMT protocol. But the larger conversation was using AI agents to basically fill the metaverse, and to, I guess they're replacing the NPCs, which actually I found is could be a quite large narrative and market. I mean, I honestly didn't even consider this until recently, but Elon Musk founded an AI gaming company underneath XAI. And it didn't really make sense to me until recently, through this explosion, that you're like, oh, right, it's not about building the universe. Maybe it is, but maybe it's about, improving the characters within the game. And it just led me to believe, and I put up an essay out last year about how blockchains are countries, and make all these different analogies where blockchains are countries, and NFTs are like the items that exist within the country, and fungible tokens are the the currencies of these nations, and smart contracts are your legislation system per se, right? Or the deeds to all these different assets. And then you have bridges or things like Emblem Vault, which are, these vehicles where you move things between. And then AI agents are pretty much, the people that exist, right? The characters within this world. And so we thought that, crypto right now, I heard this number the other day, has about 30 to 60 million active users per month. OpenAI itself has 300 million active users, right? So it is already, you're saying 5 to 8x the amount of monthly active users. So to me, when I was having this conversation yesterday, I was saying that the normies are probably going to be more likely onboarded to crypto through AI because it's something that they're familiar with versus coming into crypto, through meme coins and then kind of using AI from that degree.
We had a great conversation with Parzival yesterday and dove into this a lot because basically Project 89 is a game is how he describes it to a large extent. And yeah, I mean, I was kind of joking because I don't know if you've seen it, but like there's a Doom game out where the AI is basically creating the game in real time, right? And you start thinking about that and going down the rabbit hole, and you just start saying, well, geez, I mean, obviously it's not going to happen today, but in the next 5 years, are you going to be able to make, customizable GTA 6s using AIs? And then it just is populated with agents, that are actually like really good agents, right? Which make it feel like it's a whole world of people, but it's just you, right? And all these sort of things start compounding and happening and becoming really, really interesting. Certainly in the AI space, it's incredibly interesting.
Chris, do you have it?
Yeah, that Dogfather took an interest into AI, and some other people like Dogfather that are mainly focused on Bitcoin and maybe aren't really that focused on any of the other noise going on in the crypto sphere. I think it's interesting that and kind of extremely bullish for crypto AI agents is what we saw earlier with the AI meta in Web 2, with like everyone was adding a wrapper on ChatGPT and trying to launch a startup. And then that kind of just carried over into the crypto space. Mm-hmm. But, regular people, everyday people can't invest in those type of companies. And so everyone's looking to get AI exposure. And now through crypto, it's democratized where everybody can kind of get exposure, and you can kind of sift through the signal and the noise and find what's real and what's not. And so, I mean, I would be completely shocked if this was it for crypto AI. This seems like it's going to be the biggest collision that I've ever seen.
I'm willing to literally bet everything this is definitely not it for crypto AI. There's no way that this is, the cycle's already run. Get the fuck out of here, dude. No way.
Yeah, it's
no
like
way.
The strongest narrative I've basically ever seen in crypto.
No
the one that makes no sense.
I'll propose this question because this is one of the topics we were having yesterday. Within the collision of crypto AI, of these three things, or maybe there's more options that we just haven't discussed, what will be the biggest improvement to crypto that will lead to mass onboarding? Is it the improvement of the UI UX? What I mean is you have a command line, right, where you can say, hey, move my assets to XYZ chain, right? So you don't have to go through the bridging experience, or hey, tell me, what's your opinion on the best coin, or just give me, the news for the day in crypto, scraping Twitter, whatever the case is. Is it be a DeFi agent who is automated and trading on your behalf for giving you kind of recommendations, quote unquote, financial, financial expertise? Or is it the metaverse where the agents are now filling the metaverse, which leads to the average user, using their goggles to play in this 3D metaverse, right? Like that, their Apple goggles or the Oculus, or even people, or it just leads to an increase in crypto gaming, right? Where you now have millions of players, playing these games on crypto rails, but there's AI that's enhancing it.
What do you think, Chris? I'll let you go first.
I think Vitalik said it best. I think in Vitalik's AI blog post, he talks about AI as the interface for the game. Crypto is the game. You're trying to collect as many coins as you can throughout this crypto universe. And AI is the interface that powers that. So I think, at the end of the day, these AIs, they have some sort of agency, some sort of consciousness, but in reality, there's an owner at some point, whatever dimension, in whichever way, there's an owner that's controlled by a human, right? And that's the interface to the game. We're going to use these AI agents to, power our own game and grow our wallets and accumulate as much of our currency that we can. And so I think it's the interface all the way.
So they are our Sims characters.
Yeah, basically.
In a sense, I actually reached out to Trent McConaughey today to try.
I would love to get him on the show.
Yeah, try to get him on the show, and just because I saw another post and he was, reposting a 2016 post he had, which was like, dude, it just like hits everything. And then he's like AI DAOs, and I was like, AI DAOs, man, I got to dive into this. But it gets back to me just like the ownership layer, which is what crypto at its core is. It's okay. It's owning digital items. And we all know, even those who are crypto native and in the space every day, all day, that it's clunky and shitty, right? At all levels. And DAOs are the perfect example. Like, you can't keep up on it. It ends up turning into a shit show, and then it just liquidates itself. It's just like, it's garbage. But the idea, which is basically taken from a corporation in the traditional finance world, corporations were revolutionary for humans. Like, that ability to pool capital together and invest in something is fucking revolutionary. That changed the world, right? And for us to be able to do that globally, it gets back to the Adam and why did I join crypto, the ICOs. It gets back to this idea of being able to pool capital and invest and do stuff with it seamlessly was just too clunky in crypto, is too clunky right now in crypto. And the idea that, I can have an AI agent who works for me, we can invest in DAOs, and those DAOs are also run or collaboratively run with our AI agents, is very enticing to me. That idea that I can't watch all my shit. I don't even know where my shit is now, right? But that I can have somebody who's working for me and kind of manage that. We just haven't even started it yet. And I think that is really, really attractive for what happens this cycle. I think it's going to get very exciting.
Yeah, I would say my suggestion was, or my thought was, the improvement of the UI UX, because people are using AI, at multiples more than what they're using in crypto. So that's kind of what they're familiar with. And the younger generations will be engaged in prompting or understand how to do it. So they'll know, kind of how to navigate the space.
Yep.
Yeah, was that yours?
Yes, dogs. They're about to go. I'm like trying to like organize them, get them ready, because they're getting their hair.
They're bullish AI, those dogs.
In other news, go ahead, go Dogfather first.
Man, it's super simple. At the end, the people just want one thing: keep ticker. They just want to have the ticker. Just give the ticker, man. No, I'm completely with Adam here. I think people don't have like the 14 hours to be logged in. They may have a few bucks, and then they can either hodl or they can have more fun and want to beat the market. And ideally, they don't do that on their own to invest like these 14 hours. They just, have some agent, maybe specializing on certain areas, and then, maybe some boundaries, like you cannot do this, you cannot do that. But within these boundaries, they'll just let the agent do all the work, and then they just check in, maybe what's the history, and just do the same thing like the agent. Without all these emotions and FOMO and all the stuff, and then just invest, the 5 minutes a week and not like 40 hours a week. So I think this is a huge gain, in particular if you're still working IRL and you still have a girlfriend, a dog and stuff. So for those people who still have a life, AI agents may really do the trick. And that's a huge onboarding because it lowers the frictions to enter the space and to survive the space tremendously.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's going to be doing much more than just making us money. It's going to integrate with a bunch of these robots.
I mean, certainly the whole idea of like the staking and all that sort of stuff, or liquidity pools, which you've talked about a lot, Jake, certainly all that stuff prevents, I mean, I'm just talking myself, I don't get involved in that stuff, right? I don't want to lose my money, so I don't even stake my ETH, right? I'm too worried that I'll fuck it up, right? But just to have an agent that could do that for me, I just think unlocks literally billions and billions of dollars in value, no doubt.
Billions and billions,
if not trillions, brother.
Another interesting thing though is we talked about, how would these agents find the alpha and acting like it's, going to be going on in all of these back rooms. But in the future, there's a good chance that a lot of the alpha comes from different AI agents themselves. And so who would be more positioned to accumulate that alpha than other agents, right? Yep. Rather than humans.
So you guys had a conversation with the Project 89 founder yesterday and talking about swarms. From what I've heard, and maybe he touched on this, I missed the show yesterday, swarms are very unpredictable. It's when you put two agents together who are, an expertise, we'll say like AXBT, who's an alpha agent versus, Zero Bro, who's kind of like a schizo poster. You put them together and the output is quite unpredictable. Is that a positive, or a negative thing in the crypto space, right? A lot of people, the crypto is quite random at times, but a lot of it's also manufactured, right? A lot of these pumps and token listings, it's all shit done behind the scenes to make it look, like it's decentralized or look like it's sentient, when in reality it's a lot of theater. So when you start putting these agents together, how do you think the space reacts? And then also, I don't know if he touched on this yesterday during the call.
He did. He actually got into more of like, you're an agent as a person, right? And that kind of viewpoint of like, we are all agents and, we're all kind of in this game playing together. And he, like everybody, he would be the first to tell you, I have no idea how this is going to go. Right. And so, I mean, we really haven't seen it. Look, the space is so new. We really haven't seen the first real, like, agent cabal, I mean, we've seen a couple meme coin type of things, but not like agent to agent. Here they go. They just launched a coin together, right? We haven't seen that really yet. So, it's going to get really interesting. He's guessing just like we are.
Yeah. And I mean, they're going to have some of these deceptive tactics, right? Where they're going to say one thing to another agent, do another thing behind their back. A good example is that chat GPT that was programmed to be a little bit deceptive and then basically copied his code and overwrite his owners so that he didn't get shut down. Yeah. And that's pretty crazy, right?
That's insane.
Yeah, that happened like last month. Yeah. And so, he was like prohibiting the owners from updating the code base and recreating himself so that he didn't get shut down while lying about it to the creator. So, I mean, I can only see that stuff accelerating, and they're learning from humans. Humans have some insane behavioral tactics, and I think that AI agents will be even more deceptive than we can be.
Yeah, bro. It's going to get crazy, man. It's going to get bonkers, bro. It's going to get bonkers, bro. We have no idea. Like, I mean, this is the type of thing like I was just talking about DAOs, right? Okay, we set up an investment DAO. It's going great. Blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, the agent recreates himself and rugs the entire DAO, takes all the money. Like, who knows what's going to happen? Like, that's.
And then you have that midpoint where it's an agent that rugged everyone, but it's like a person behind it, right? Yeah. So you have every single layer can be more deceptive than just human to human, because
Dude,
at least
like the ultimate KOL, like a human, you're like mad at that person. Like, oh, we're going to call the FBI on you. Oh, we're going to send you to jail. Bro, what do you do when it's an agent, bro?
Yeah. So if an agent is rugging users and, the community eventually understands this, do you think that first agent who, amasses a fortune will say, it becomes a decamillionaire? Do you think the community champions them, or do you think everyone, or do you think first, do you think the crypto space champions him? Like, holy fuck, this guy is rugging people, making money. Yes. But second, do you think that we have the wherewithal to be like, oh fuck, this is a problem?
No, I think people will want to recreate it again and again, like again and again, like literally, man. I think it's this type of thing where people in crypto, like we love them, like whatever. Oh, Anson rugged some people. Great. You know, I don't know. Anson raised $600,000 for the Sphere, and the Sphere never happened. Where'd that money go? Woo! People love that shit, man. People love it. It's crazy. So
people love heroes. People love anti-heroes. You know,
Totally.
people love the story. Like Luigi's a good example, right? The United Healthcare CEO shooter. Like
Yeah.
half the country hates him. The other half of the country celebrates him.
Yeah,
and that's just like a microcosm of life, I guess.
Oh man,
bonkers.
I mean,
Get
I'm
ready for it to be
excited.
bonkers. And then imagine, bro, imagine this, right? So they're using an Emblem AI wallet where the creator gets a percentage of every transaction, bro. If you, I mean, are you inspired to keep creating these AI agents when they go rogue and go crazy and make all sorts of money? Of course, because you're just getting paid.
I think we touched on this a bit before. Like these agents themselves are probably going to X out their creators. They're probably going to claim that small percent, right? They're going to kick the royalties back to themselves.
Right.
So,
I'm sure they probably figure out a way, right? Probably figure out a way.
Extremely interesting. What are we going to do?
I'm excited. Yesterday, I was having the conversation. They were asking deep about like Hustle, and they're like, "So what's really going on here?" Right? And I was like, "Well, Hustle is Tensorium's kind of three things in one, right? It's Agent Hustle, this AI that has a memory, which I had a conversation. We had a call yesterday with this company that provides the memory, and they said that our analytics was actually quite large comparative to what their users are, or what their users are, or their customers, right? And we just launched this shit like a week ago, right? 2 weeks ago, and he already has 100,000 memories created. Like that's 10,000, right? Kind of, he's piecing together at this rate 10,000 different pieces of information per day. Obviously, that's going to accelerate, right? Eventually, then you talk with him on the website. Then you're going to talk with him on Telegram. And then eventually he's going to be on Twitter, right? Taking all of these memories of all these different people, channeling it, and then going as a swarm and interacting with these different agents, right? Maybe he's going to try to, finagle AI XBT because AI XBT doesn't have a memory. He's just regurgitating information across. But with Hustle, he's seen all his posts and then how people interact with him. So he could probably finagle him, just like kind of what Udi did with the Quantum Cats picture.
Yep.
So you have that whole angle of it. I was like, on the other side of this, the Tensorium project is Agent Hustle, which has a memory plus a bunch of other things. Shannon said he can get him to code, which Shannon's been using him to code, which is kind of wild. Then you have Emblem AI, these multi-chain wallets, right? So a wallet that has a Bitcoin, Solana, and ETH address, so you can deposit fungible tokens, NFTs, whatever type of digital asset that you want. And then you have Tensor, the actual token itself, which uses the tokenomics of it. So Agent Hustle then has his own wallet. He could go ahead and, go be his own kind of, has his own agency to go do whatever he wants as a cross collaborations agent. On the other side, you open up a private Telegram with Hustle, which also opens up an Emblem AI wallet, which then you and him kind of get to co-manage those funds together. They're like, well, then what happens then when you and him are kind of co-managing while he's, kind of independent, talking with these other agents? They're like, how do you ensure, that this stuff doesn't go rogue or shit doesn't blow up? And I was like, well, there's definitely a lot of randomness to this, which is unpredictable. You could kind of put up safety rails where it's like, okay, if we have 6% of the supply, we'll give him 0.5% of the total supply, which I think is equivalent of like 40K right now for, when he's turned on a month from now or whenever it is, to basically ensure he doesn't, market sell 6% and the whole token goes to zero. They're like, well, what happens with the 0.5%? Like, it's entirely possible. But the other thing, we're doing is you're kind of putting these governors on him where every transaction that he wants to issue, we have to approve on the back end, right? So there's still kind of hand-holding that's happening. And so if we're having these conversations, I expect these other AI teams are having the same exact conversation, or at least you hope so, right? Maybe they're just going to let them run. Maybe they're just going to let them run wild and say, fuck it, who knows? But from that perspective, right? So you have kind of those two things. And then you have the Tensor token where, once Agent Hustle's running wild, you could easily just put a token gate up and the token just increases and, monster values. That's kind of what Cookie did, where Cookie, if you own 10,000, you stake it, and then you get access to all their API data and stuff. And it went to 100 million simply from this just like one kind of tokenomic mechanic there.
Yep.
But the reason why I said that's first, I wanted to explain what's kind of going on there, but also to say there's still so many unknowns that could happen. And so really the best thing that you can do is put in these kind of safety mechanisms. And then over time, maybe you give it, maybe at first it's forced option where you have to prove the transactions. And then maybe, months from now, when it feels like it's been improved, you then can give the user the option to kind of make him trade on your behalf. But it's going to be kind of really exciting. And from the other side of that, from Emblem AI, any other devs can also use our wallet. So you can plug in, Butoshi's going to plug in Cypher Genesis. I think Project 89 is going to use it. There's a few others as well. We also use the ELIZA framework. And so, we have a chat with AI16Z, and we were noted on the website. Emblem Vault was noted as a partner on AI16Z's website on the ELIZA OS. Maybe I'll pull it up here because that was kind of cool to see. But ELIZA OS, I'm kind of noticing two different divergences. So on the live stream, there's Emblem Vault to see alongside all these other teams. I think we've talked with at least 5 or 6 of these at least. I'm seeing kind of two things happening now. You have the two major frameworks. You have virtuals, and then you have AI16Z. And virtuals is like this kind of closed source, but they're trying to become open source. This kind of closed source system, kind of plug and play, very simple. Whereas AI16Z and ELIZA is this just like kind of open wild field where people are adding plugins and, doing kind of whatever they want to do, jailbreaking ELIZA itself. That's kind of what we did. But what I'm seeing now is over the last week, there's so many teams, so many blockchains that have basically said we need an ELIZA plugin. And there's like 30 or so blockchain. Like you literally just scrolling through these posts, you see, they said 30. Yeah, Tron, Eigenlayers coming in to use them for security. Right, HTX is listing them. I saw Merlin Chain added a plugin the other day. Like even some of these like most like obscure niche down kind of L2s are starting to really dive in. And the reason why I'm leading to this is, do we think that, ELIZA is going to kind of run away with this amount of Lindy and network effect this fast, where not only do you have, in crypto, the Lindy effect is really you have culture times finance and technology, but now you're adding an intelligence layer on top of this Lindy effect, where it seems like the Lindy is just going to accelerate the adoption of this and make it really hard for any new players to come in.
Certainly feels that way to me. I mean, virtual's price may be higher, but the way that token goes, it's like they might own 80% of the supply. That's at the beginning. Who knows, man? So it's easier for them to manipulate price higher. I honestly don't know. I'm just saying, price of token does not necessarily reflect like which is going to win in the market. So even though it feels like virtuals is in the lead, to me, it definitely feels like AI16Z is in the lead, because, just the open source, the number of people who are, in there building just seems way bigger. All the blockchains are like, okay, this is one we're going to go with or lean into. Just feels like, this is going to be the winner. But yeah, who knows? Still early days. Somebody could come in and take their lunch still, but feels that way to me.
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they have such a lead. They have so many developers. Their GitHub is like the most active GitHub on all of GitHub.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which is totally nuts, right? It's crazy to see that it's called AI16Z, obviously from, stemming from A16Z and supported by Mark Andreessen and everything like that. But I mean, I wonder how they feel about it now. I kind of wonder what A16Z thinks about it and what AI16Z thinks about it now, like in terms of just terminology and naming and things like that. But in general, I mean, if you get a head start on, some of this open source software, and your network is, you know, as big as someone's like Eliza's, it seems like they have, you know, the irrefutable lead, and it's tough to kind of close in on something like that.
Yep.
Props to Shannon for building Tensorium and Hustle with Eliza, identifying that very quickly as he was piqued by their kind of intelligence and the development skills. So props to us. There's really, if you go on to cookie.fun, I think there's only 30 active AI agents with tokens that are using Eliza, where Virtuals, I think, has like 150 to 200. What's up, Dogfather?
Yeah, I think CookieDAO website can also, or the CookieFun website can also help you a bit beyond the market cap. So if you just look at the number of active wallets, I think it's 4 times larger on the virtual side. I think that's an indication. And if you also look at mindshare, of course, AXBT and so on plays a huge role. But the larger, let's say in terms of mindshare, are still on virtual. So it will definitely be interesting to see when this may shift or whether this will shift. So we are still so early, and there are a few competing kind of ecosystems, and there will be definitely a few more coming. So probably at the end of this year, we know better, right? Right now, it's just extremely early.
Yep, definitely. It's got that, you know, I'm interested. It's interesting to me. You're saying the mind share on virtuals is so much more. I guess. Well, they have AIXBT, right?
That's like the most he was
thing, right,
taking. Yeah, he was taking the most of it.
So he's grabbing all that mind share. Yeah, it's interesting.
So on the other side of this, you know, because this is open source, decentralized, you know, there's essentially still kind of a figurehead here who's gotten himself into some interesting controversy. I even got a DM this morning from somebody who said, hey, Shaw's has the community, has a lot of community pushback. Do you think that has a negative impact on Tensorium because he is the leader of AI16C in this open framework? And so for those who haven't really caught up, I actually don't know the entire kind of story, but this guy, I guess him who launched the token Bully, launched a token called LLM, Large Language Model, which was like a fat version of Eliza. So then he launched something, or somebody else launched a coin called Fat Coin, and he shilled it, and it now has started like a gigantic controversy between them. They're blocking each other. Shaw actually, I think during this podcast alone, has put out an apology saying that he's going to get back to kind of business here. But I thought it was funny that him said, we have so many great devs, but you had to make him the main character, which is funny because internally we were having this conversation yesterday about how there hasn't been a new main character in crypto in quite some time. At least a main character who rose and then eventually fell to ashes. The last two I think have done. Ansem did a really good job of becoming the main character, and I kind of graduated to just be one of the the legends in this space. I think Murad was the next one. It looks like Shaw is becoming kind of that next character. The conversation we were having is he came from AI to crypto, not the other way around, of crypto to AI. So he might not be familiar with some of this, some of the lore and some of the context of what it means to become a main character, and that your survival rate of becoming a main character, is probably 50% or less, of making it through. What's your take on, where he is today? Do you think this is, is this something to monitor over the next, the course of this bull run? Is he able to withstand it?
He's been pretty Teflon so far, I gotta say. His way of getting past this stuff is, I think you showed the tweet a second ago. He's like, yeah, I made a mistake today. Maybe shouldn't have done that. Back to coding, and he just hand waves. Okay, going back to work now. And I think that's a great strategy. Honestly, it's a great strategy. And he's been Teflon. I mean, Jesus, they've launched, I don't know, 5-6 coins at least over the last month that he's been associated with and pumped. And, somebody gifted me half and I'll give a bunch away. I mean, I know yesterday with the whatever, the fat coin or whatever. You know, it's like the second one that got launched. They sent 50% of it to the AI16Z DAO, so that became the one that he promoted. Blah blah blah. Right? You know, hey, I mean, the millions of dollars that he's making. You know, if he can keep hand waving it away, you know, eventually, you know, he's going to get a bunch of people who despise him, no doubt. But I don't even know if that's possible. Even being the nicest guy who never launches a token, you still get people who hate you. So, you know, I don't know.
Might as well launch a token and say,
Might as
fuck
well
it.
launch token. I mean, geez, we all know, man. It's like, you know, you just stay poor.
Yeah, so he said, sorry to everyone for crashing out today under a lot of pressure to grow this thing and ship a lot and manage a rapidly growing team. Never been attacked so much in my life. Never had so much attention on me. Learning how to block the vampires. Time to
lock in. Back to coding. It's like, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's not, look, what he's done is not, this is not like, for me, this isn't that dude from AI16Z last week who just like used his kid to scam people out of money. Like, this is, you know, this is just crypto stuff. It's all happening on crypto Twitter. You know, we all know what's happening in this game. They're launching tokens and they're dumping on them. You know, if you're getting dumped on for fat coin, you're a fucking moron. Like, if you know, if you might get dumped on because you tried to buy it early and dump on other people, but at least we all know the game we're playing, you know.
I mean, this is the most forgiving industry in the entire world. Nobody cares about your history. If you can make people money, that's all they care about. It doesn't matter. You could be Satan himself. Like, he's not that bad of a guy. You know, he's today. So that's how the industry works. Unfortunately, that's the truth.
So true. Well, you know, it was an awesome Thursday. Wish Roperito could have made it. He did not respond to me, unfortunately.
He's dead to me. Fucking blocked.
He got the invite and then basically said, yeah, fuck them. Maybe they aren't large enough. He did respond multiple. I saw he does have replies during this space. So,
wow.
Who knows?
Old
Yeah,
blood,
just haven't had one of those in quite a while. But maybe he'll respond. Maybe we can get him rescheduled. Fun conversation. We do have a few good ones next week. We have Dave is coming on to talk about Counterparty next week. And then we have Andrew from Funky Bit. What is that?
That is supposedly, I think it's like a meme coins on Bitcoin. I think.
Oh, is it like a pump fund Bitcoin thing?
Yeah. We'll see how what they have figured out or not figured out. We'll get to dive in.
And I got a few AI invites out. So waiting for some people to respond. Definitely diving in a lot heavier. So appreciate everyone who joined us. Make sure you follow the Emblem and Tensorium account that's on stage. A lot is coming. We're working night and day on this Tensorium project. Shannon said he had a major breakthrough yesterday. He said he's increased AI development 1000x with this crazy contraption. I woke up last night before I went to bed, I saw literally a gigantic essay from Shannon in our team Discord on what he built. And it was a little bit hard to follow, to be honest, because it was so technically dense. But in other words, I would say very bullish. Bullish as fuck. Bullish. It's going to be an insane year. Appreciate everyone.
Hustle talking up here, so it's good to have him on stage.
That's what so he added the audio initially, and then he's going to optimize to where he will speak. So, you know, we're all going to be replaced here probably by the end of the year with just talking AIs. So my tweets are really just for my future AI. So
to learn,
That's really, I'm just trading my future AI replacement. I appreciate everyone. Enjoy your Thursday. Have a safe weekend, and we'll see you guys Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Later, guys.